Cool. Hey, back on another one, Dr. Zero Trust Show. Got Gerry Kennedy here. We're going to talk about some topics that I think need to be forefront for most people. Gerry, if you don't mind, would you give folks a background on who you are and why they should listen to what you have to say?
Well, my name is Gerry Kennedy. I've got 35 years in the insurance business. I've built brokerages. I've been a national accounts underwriter in the insurance industry. I've written the policies, sold the policies, built the policies. So, pretty in-depth background working
So you
mostly in
know
that.
you know the insurance industry very well is a fair statement.
Yes, that'd be accurate.
So, okay, well, I want to ask a flat, direct question because people ping me on this all the time. I think that cyber insurance is a very I don't know, shenanigan sort of environment, and I don't find it to be providing a lot of value to people. Is that a fair statement, or am I way off base?
Yeah, you're off base. It's what it was. The impetus of cyber insurance was done, to make money as an opportunity. Put assets at risk for profit is the job of any underwriting place. So they cobbled together. I wrote a paper about it, about the conundrum of cyber insurance and how we got here. You can go onto my LinkedIn and grab that. It's about the silent non-affirmative issues that are happening right now. And what's a big issue right now is cyber is it morphed into something that they never intended. It was predominantly IT driven, ransomware became a phenomenon, denial of service attacks. They could manage those, but they never expected the scale and the shift. The Stuxnet event, sorry about that, was a gating issue because that was the first time operational technologies came into play, and they never contemplated that. And the world has actually kept saying cyber insurance and cyber insurance. It's ubiquitous. It's well past what the vernacular has with Wall Street and everybody else on boards of directors and the frailties of cyber insurance. There are other vectors for insurance to apply, and specifically kinetic events, which you just saw the Gazprom event in Russia yesterday, where it just blew up. Well, if that happened here, then ensuing loss or concurrent causality, as we call it in the insurance industry, would be covered, but it wouldn't be covered under cyber insurance. It'd be covered under property insurance, life insurance, disability insurance, health insurance, general liability insurance, all kinds of things, product insurance, product liability insurance, contractual liabilities. The problem with cyber itself, no one's ever defined it. It actually doesn't mean anything. So it's about naming the perils, which the industry has failed miserably at. They have not inventoried any of the losses. They aggregate losses in workers' compensation for the last 100 years under NCCI, where they've categorized losses for every knee injury, every grandmother that slipped on a grape in a supermarket. It's all codified, it's done actuarially, but they never did this for cyber. Everybody's been clamoring for reporting. Well, we're the reporting industry. This is what we do. Why didn't we do it in cyber? So when you talk about cyber, what's wrong with it? We started off on the wrong foot. We're on the wrong foot, and they didn't understand what they got to. What they should have done is taken care of their contracts of adhesion, which is your insurance policy, to address those issues. Now they're putting patches, much like Microsoft puts on patches. If you got a pair of jeans, it's a bad pair of jeans, you got a hole in it and has a patch. Well, you has a holey pair of jeans with a patch on it. It's not a new pair of jeans. So we really have a foundational issue that's happening here, and it's now evolved into even bigger issues. I'll give you an example. I'll just use one line of business: automobile. If your car got hacked, are you gonna drive it?
I mean, if I know that it's hacked, I won't, but if I don't, probably so.
Okay, it's hacked. So yesterday there were cars in Chicago at O'Hare that were stolen. I know for a fact they were stolen because of decoders. That decoder moves ones and zeros into the CAN bus to open the car. But what else did they do? The people that stole the cars did not develop the decoders. They don't have the capabilities. They would otherwise they wouldn't have gotten caught, would they? So this is getting to be really, really scary. So the theft of a vehicle has elevated into a cyber theft, but it's not a cyber theft. That's a cyber total loss. You're not going to drive that car anymore.
Because of the
You,
fact that the key so you're saying from the insurance perspective, or from, I guess, the logical perspective, don't drive the car because someone compromised the key to get into the car, therefore the car is hacked, which is a potential
the key,
liability.
the key is just a threat vector that got
Okay.
affirmed. Okay. Okay.
Yep.
That was a cyber hack. Do we agree on that?
Sure.
Okay. So there's 15 points of entry that I know about, plus 3 IP addresses on the truck that's in front of me right now. Plus, we have over-the-air exposures. Kia just got hacked. We know it because we just filed a claim against them for an auto dealer to recover the money due to the losses. They can't hide this anymore. It's the insurance industry. Literally, we hold all the keys. Okay, if I don't
But you also
insure
hold all
you,
the data too, right? So I mean, you guys are
well,
like the rabbits. You guys are the rabbits watching the grass grow.
yeah, but you know what? But we don't know to eat it. So yes, we are. We did it on every other line of business. We do it on property losses. We've built cities. That's why we call it the cyber hurricane. That was an homage to something we know. So we rebuild cities. That's what we do. And we're darn good at it. Ask anyone in North Jersey. Maybe every claim didn't go good, but the aggregate, we're operational again after Hurricane Sandy or Katrina. We work with governments all the time. Do we just, I said, do we have a traumatic brain injury in the last 10, 20 years somewhere that we forgot how to stay to our basic rules? So what you're seeing is the degradation in the faith of the contract of adhesion. The contract of adhesion is your insurance policy. We're advocating managed risk solutions, or we have coined the term, and we're doing this, insurance as a service. So we're looking at managed risk solutions as the transference of risk. So cyber is going to require, a village in a way, a village of people like you, of people like, the big dogs. But there's a lot of garage bands out there that haven't been heard on the radio yet, metaphorically, that are a lot better than the ones that you're seeing, and we're finding them. So
Okay, go ahead.
the cyber people that are out there, there's a lot of products that can't get to market. The insurance company is playing big, what they call insurtech. They're wasting their time. There's still basics of insurance. You don't know where you're going unless you know where you are. The insurance companies never inventoried their liabilities, or what they call PMLs, possible maximum losses, and that's how we rate our insurance. So currently, the insurance industry has unfunded covered losses. They never funded for cyber auto losses or theft of cars that way. They should have, shouldn't they? And then they would be able to cover you. But
But
now you have
then,
the
okay,
number of cars are stolen on this situation was not 2 or 3. I can't give you the total numbers. I know what they are, but they're extensive. And it's
but a
one
sto-
OEM. It's one OEM.
right. So I mean, a stolen car, like I totally get how that's a pretty, sort of definable thing. But I mean, you and I've talked before,
Mhm.
these other issues of, if I buy a cyber insurance policy and someone takes out, I don't know, something that I'm responsible for, like you said, a pipeline or whatever else, or blah, blah, blah. Like there's these weird clauses and things that are written into the policies where the insurer can just go, oops, it's the war clause. Like, fuck you. That's your problem. Right.
Well, the war exclusion was used. Everybody knows on the Merck claim. It's waiting to be heard on the Mondelez claim. Okay, that was a massive frailty. We at Observatory predicted that. We knew they were going to do that. Actually, ERMI, the one of the educational bodies in the insurance industry, their editor actually posted about this about 2 years ago. He warned them. We have been here before. Before it was during 9/11. The very people who actually invoked the war clause, the very company, the very people back on 9/11 said they'd never do it. Look it up.
Yeah. So, I mean, then, and now because I think you made a really good point, right? The actuarial tables, the data, the stuff that you would use as an insurer or person, or organization writing these policies to define what the risk is. I mean, you're even saying that it still is not well understood, and it still is a lot of Kentucky windage for people writing these policies, right?
I like the reference to Kentucky windage, but
I mean, it's
they're shooting with a non-rifled barrel. They never shoot straight.
yeah,
So
right.
what they have, Chase, is they're very smart people, and the people in the insurance industry can do this. What happened was they reached out and they cobbled together certain coverages, and they got them approved. They have to have regulatory approval in order to sell these. You understand? It's called a filing. The people who are doing the underwriting, the rating, the taking the filings, none of them were IT or OT people. They didn't know what they were talking about. So if you think about it, if what they made was an insurance donkey, they didn't know what they were doing, so why'd they do it? And then on top of it, as the world has seen, we funded our own losses. We paid the ransoms without any chance of the rights of recovery, better known as subrogation. You don't even get into insurance unless you can recover it. There was zero chance of it.
Yeah. So
It's it,
the
and
insurer is losing too.
well, what makes things legal has to be in the public good. How is paying ransom to effectively terrorists or proxy nation state people in the public good. So that's comes into the realm of illegal. That's what defines illegal things.
So then are insurers breaking the law by paying the
Yeah,
ransom?
they could be, or could they be complicitory? That's to be determined. I'm not a judge. I'm not a court. That's Supreme Court to do it, or the Hague, or whoever else. One of the Bells have been talking about it.
Yeah.
But I do know this: the hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars were paid in ransom by insurance carriers, and where did that money go? What was it used for? Do the
Bad
math.
stuff. Bad stuff.
Well, we
Yeah.
got some pretty bad stuff in the world, and that's promulgated more losses. Not only that, but what happens, you created ransom as a service in the present by paying the ransoms. You educated people. You created an entire economy of people who were never going to go into ransom, but all of a sudden it became lucrative, and you're never going to get caught. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. I mean, even
16-year-old kid. These are GDP numbers. You know that, right?
yeah. I mean, they're it's the third largest economy on the planet, essentially, if you tie it together and actually look at the numbers.
And what are the first two?
US and China.
No. Banking and insurance. There's
Okay.
$88 trillion in the world GDP, 88.8 in 2019. We are 7 trillion of it. We're 10% of it.
Hmm. Okay, well then where, I mean, where, like, as a person, like, I'm a small business, I have my own LLC or whatever. Why would I buy a cyber insurance policy when I know that it's Kentucky windage, the rabbits are watching the grass grow, it's not a well understood thing, and we're potentially funding, malicious activities by the very nature of what we're doing. Like, I'm trying to wrap my head around, because I advise a lot of people on this, like, why they should buy a policy or not. I don't have a good answer right now.
Well, all right. Let me back up. Let me define insurance for you. Does you as a layperson, you think insurance is a policy, don't you?
Yeah, right.
It's not. It's transference of risk. That's what
Okay.
insurance is. The deductible that's in the deductible on your car for $500,000 is a
Yep.
transference of risk to your wallet. Okay, that's called self-insurance, form of insurance. Now, because insurance as a service, as we've coined over at Observatory and we are executing on, is that the transference of the money that you're currently spending on cyber insurance, which you are suspect about, has to be defined on the perils, not cyber. Cyber doesn't mean anything, Chase. You can't give
Sure.
me a definition. No one has. And I've talked to some of the biggest people in cyber around the world. They all go, hmm.
Yeah,
So,
right.
so if you assess your risk, okay, OT, all right, operational technologies, PLCs. What does that gray box do that moves that line, that moves, beer? There was a hack out at a beer company in California that moves it at 4 feet per second. Okay. You change it to 5 feet per second, you ruined all that beer. You're going to break the machine probably.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. So you have to assess your risk. So what does that PLC do? That's called a statement of values. We already do that in property insurance. You give me a list of houses and cars and buildings at some big real estate firms. We list it, we aggregate it, and this is what it is. This is the exposure. Okay, here's your PML. We're going to lose one building possibly, and it could be $7 million. That's how we do it. But the insurance industry again lost its role. Where is their statement of PMLs, which is what we're doing, by the way. They don't even know how to financially assess true risk for cyber at a financial level. We do. We're doing it right now.
Well,
So
then, okay, but the other thing too, right, is that if it's my car or my house, you're able to say, you live in this area, hurricanes are likely to come by or
right,
whatever. If it's
right,
my
yep.
truck, you can say it's got, anti-theft and freaking airbags and whatever.
Or
Cyber,
a tree falls in or a deer jumps out. Those are
right?
known
Cyber is just
things.
like, I don't know. And then these companies too they're not, because I bought a cyber insurance policy because I had to have one for a contract for my LLC. They didn't validate that I had anything. They just said, here's what it's going to cost you and here's what we cover, which I knew was, horseshit. And then I had to buy the policy because the contract wouldn't be awarded without the policy. So like there, and I mean, I was doing a project with a really major insurance provider and they flat said, like, we don't even have a way to validate the controls are in place for the policy we're issuing. Isn't that a giant problem?
Well, when you look at insurance carriers, the very largest insurance carrier in the world had a $40 million hack, and they're purported to be cyber experts, and they got hacked for $40 million.
Sure.
Yeah, you got a problem. The people who wrote your policy are not cyber people. They're not the actuaries that affirmed it. The regulators that approve it. It doesn't go past anything without regulation. Absolutely have no clue.
By regulation, you mean law.
Law and regulation are two different things.
Okay. So
Regulator,
define.
the National Association of Insurance Commissioners, okay? There's 53, 54 of them, including American Samoa, Puerto Rico, et cetera.
Okay.
Each one of those people have a cyber liability because the systemic risk of cyber is not contemplated in the rates of the entire insurance industry, including life insurance and health insurance. Because systemic risk can go kinetic. Bhopal, India can happen. Do the math.
So then who?
So what?
I was gonna say, so then who's holding the bag for this stuff when it is so like I mean, when it is so just kind of all over the place? I mean, the regulators. But who?
You just went through it with COVID.
Yeah.
So if the vestiges of, oh my God, we can't afford to pay this loss, you deny the coverage. That's why you saw the war loss. That's why they did it. They weren't right. They knew they weren't right, but they're going to fight it and try and be right. Well, they lost. But the operation of filing that war exclusion has degraded the faith in the contracts in the aggregate. That's why you're stating what you're saying. You're calling it whatever adjective you would like to call it.
Horseshit.
Yeah. Okay, but it's not, because what happens was done wrong. It's like they have to actually admit they were wrong to go forward, don't they?
Sure.
And here's what I'm going to tell the whole world. You can kiss full indemnity goodbye. It's never going to happen. Every board of directors knows this is a problem. They buy cyber insurance so they don't have to deal with it. Now you got to deal with it, because now when something goes kinetic, not only their personal assets are at risk, but their personal freedom is at risk as well. If these companies look, we just saw that company OKT. I don't know how to pronounce it. The
Octa.
CEO, they were just on CBS admitting they just flat out lied.
Yeah.
They never, disclosure is the key to all of this. Disclosure is information. We know how to write algorithms. We're really good at it. We've been doing this analog for 334 years. We're pretty good at it. There's no aggregation of the data. What kind of thing is, you're clearly seeing, and you're smart, Chase, a lot of these current events that are happening, hacks, are old hacks that are being reconstituted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, if you got hacked 3 years ago on that, you would know how to put an early warning system to your customers. You would be able to put that as a business rule on your application. Did you affect this risk? But they're not
Well,
doing that.
I mean, if the insurance thing, if I'm driving a car and I wreck it 3 times, and every time I wreck it because I never looked to my left, eventually the insurance company would go, "We're not insuring you anymore because you're an idiot and you don't know how to drive." But in cyber, you do the same thing.
Or I just say, if I'm being literal here,
Yeah.
or I'm not gonna insure your left turns.
Okay.
I'm being, but but in cyber you can get that detailed. They never named the perils they're covering.
Mhm.
There are so many perils, and they evolve. All you got to do is go to, Symantec found out the stucknet. God bless them, right? There is no exclusion for operational technologies in any policies. None, zero. They have a lot of cyber exclusions, but the definition of cyber, the whole world knows, doesn't mean shit, which means you're going to court against your insurance company that you paid in good faith. This is what you're alluding to, coverage that you thought you had. Well, when you have assumption of coverage in the aggregate against the whole world, you start these people are putting the insurance industry at risk. Now let's talk about the brokers. I am one. I'm caught in the middle. I'm selling you a policy in good faith. I really am. We started questioning it. So we're telling people to file a reservation of rights to their carriers, saying, "Hey, wait a minute, don't pull this crap on me. This don't feel good. I expect my coverage to apply in a cyber event." I had to file my own claim against my own E&O carrier. They won't even answer me. What does
Yeah.
that tell you?
Right.
I told you about that in our first phone call.
Yeah. I mean because that's the issue that I keep running into is folks say, "Well, do we get an insurance policy, and how big should it be, and what do we insure, and what?" I mean, then I
Well,
just have to go. I don't know.
To answer your question, we're actually working on it. That answer cannot be answered, do you understand? Okay, it
Yeah.
can be assessed. Again, self-insurance is a form of insurance. Let's put it this way, Chase, you can't afford to buy the insurance you really need.
Oh, for
So
sure.
but this is what we train you to do in the good ones. We provide your possible maximum losses. How are you addressing that? Let's use a printer arbitrarily. Big printing press, I have one of these as customers. They got hacked. So this is a $30 million printer, and they print out financial documents, okay, for a very large company. So that thing got hacked, got shut down, and they hacked it when they're about to print it for their largest customer. Begins with an F. So you got to be kidding me. So they've got them on the top of the loss, worst case scenario, okay, worst case, and they stole the machine. They have all the leverage, don't they? So if you're not securing that machine, I'm not covering you. It's like putting a sprinkler system in. Wait a minute. You have all kinds of gasoline in here. What did you do to segregate the gasoline away from the rest of your building? Well, we put them in containers far from everything.
But the
It's
part of the thing too, right, is that so back to your thing with the printer, like let's say I'm insured for the printer, I'm good to go, I've done all the stuff, and then there was a critical vulnerability that came out Tuesday. I got hacked Tuesday night. There's no line in the sand or no regulatory thing that says you were good up to the last 90 days, therefore this is okay. Like, how does that work? Because it's
that could
so
be that
mandatory.
there are techniques for that. It would be called a 90-day reporting event. If the CV is not addressed in 90 days, after the 91st day, you're not covered. Sorry.
And that has to be in the policy, right? That because
It,
right
it
now
are it,
there's no
there are
legislation that says that that's the thing.
No, but technique-wise, think bigger here. Other
Yeah.
policies which we currently write have those techniques. We newly reported is what it's called. It's a newly reported provision. Sometimes it's 90 or 120 days. So we could have put in 90 days, newly reported. We would have covered you. But I can tell you right now, we're not paying full indemnity limits. Oh, we lost 200 million bucks. Well, I'm going to cap you at 10 million or 5 million. I'm picking a number because we can't afford to do it. That's what I'm telling you. Full indemnity is going out of the building. It's not even reasonable. So with a problem with a cyber loss is cash flow. You need cash to deal with the issue because you got to take old dollars to put to a new problem you didn't assess for. That's why you need it. That's what we're fixing.
So I mean, there's organizations like you guys that are trying to do it right and are trying to actually make this where it's better for your customers and the industry in writ large. But the average person on the street or the small business owner that like people like myself talk to, they're not understanding how any of this applies and whether or not they are actually going to get paid if something goes wrong. How do we address that better?
Well, they're getting paid. You got to pay a premium. With new risk requires new premium. So
Sure.
everybody better figure out that your existing policy was never intended to cover you. I will tell you the policies were written wrong and could cover you, but you got an uphill fight to do that. The insurance carriers should need to fix this. I've told them that for years. I'm all over LinkedIn on that. It is nothing new.
Yeah.
So we have to address the problem. The regulators haven't done anything. I've had shouting matches with them, and they are not addressing the issue. So there's an accountability issue here. Okay, no one's admitting the liability. You as in the public are saying, wait a minute. The only thing you can do at this point is send a reservation of rights letter to your clients, to your insurance carriers for every policy you have, saying I know I have cyber liabilities. There is inside the policy they have inspections, right to inspect and duty to inspect. No one's been to your business, have they? No one's done
Never.
that. They send auditors for your general liability and workers' comp, don't they? Well, that's an inspector. What did they ask you a question?
Not a one.
You only see your broker in the beginning of the year, the new and the renewal. Where are the other 363 days?
Probably chilling on the golf course. I mean, I don't know.
Well, the brokers know that this is a problem. I can tell you, I talked to many of them. They're starting to come around because they're the ones that are going to get sued because what's going to happen? Wait a minute, you sold me this piece of whatever. You like the adjectives, you can add them. But the fact of the matter is, if it doesn't work, why am I buying it? Why aren't you telling me a managed service that could fix this problem? If you're going to sell cyber, you better damn know cyber or know someone who knows it. Well, we at Observatory took the time we actually created a concierge approach. Nobody even knows who to call at the time of a loss in a small business.
Nope.
We built out the cyber concierge. We got the consults. It's $250 a year to just have that. Well, that's a transference of risk of knowledge, isn't it? I've had this problem. And the funny part about cyber, they very often have time barring deductibles. They won't pay you for the first 24 hours. Do you know how fast you need to get on a cyber event?
Oh,
Boom, like
seconds.
that.
Yeah.
And now it's by law. I mean, the reporting provisions are like 5 days. 5 days, that's 5 days too late.
Yeah.
Okay. We're looking at some numbers. If the small business world, the SBU world, really better be nervous. And every bot policy on the planet, which is a business owner's policy, is at risk because there's no exclusionary wording. You're going to see operational technologies inside businesses, whether that be a pizza oven. I don't have to steal one pizza oven. I can steal them all.
Sure.
Because if I attack the OEM, right, and I find out that unit, that model number is in all these places, and I find a frailty, all I need to do is find out what it is. We call that digital trigonometry. We know, but there's no range issues here. I posted about it yesterday.
So then, I mean, what would you tell somebody that they should do in this context? Like if I'm a business and I'm trying to get cyber insurance, or I think I need it, what do I do? What's the right thing?
Get somebody who's not your IT guy, because your IT guys, and no offense to them, they do a great job, but they only know what they know.
Yeah.
So that if you call your IT professional post loss, he is in self-preservation mode. Oh, nothing happened. Really? Well, I want to know what he did prior. So you bring in a third party to do an assessment. It's going to cost you, but it's a form of insurance. You're transferring risk to knowledge, knowing to know. People are not taking there's no more victims in cyber. We're done with that. And I'm sorry, small business people, what you just went through with COVID, you're going to go through it again with cyber, but much faster.
Mm. So then your professional opinion is folks should be doing real assessments before they move down that path, so they know where they're at, they know what they got to defend, they can actually be
Correct.
accurate.
Nobody knows their own business better than the guys who run the business. So you got to look at your tractor. I was at a farm out in Arkansas with a farm. It was a John Deere tractor. John Deere tractors are all connected. Do you really want to connect a tractor in August when it could get hacked in August when you're about to do? No, you don't.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's how do you defend what you don't know about, and then how do you how do you tell your risk is accurate?
Well, it's the reservation of rights isn't even just to the insurance carriers; it's to the OEM. So John Deere has this right to repair provision. Farmers, who are the most resilient people you ever met, they can weld anything, they can do anything, build anything.
Oh, yeah.
They're under the right to repair. They can't even fix their own tractors. There is not enough people to fix the tractors if a systemic event happens. You're not going to eat. You want to talk about supply chain issue? Everybody's talking about JBS and food. Take out the tractors, you ain't eating.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
it's going to die in the field.
Yep.
How many OEMs do we have in that world? A lot. No, excuse me, very few.
I was going to say you got John Deere and Caterpillar.
Well, you got
a couple of Master G and
yeah. But again,
Ferguson,
this is not a moral hazard to the OEMs.
Yeah.
It's that they're accountable for. Everybody is so busy promoting convenience, but they're giving up security.
Yeah. Right.
And the insurance carriers can stop this, saying, you know what, John Deere, we're not going to allow that. I mean, I know I work in the medical world too. We won't insure certain drugs because we know they're going to kill people. Anybody who's on the opioid thing is getting their ass handed to them.
We got a lot of opioid sales in cyber. I can tell you that much.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. So what better industry to vet those things and say and take the wheat from the chaff, pun intended.
Yeah, I mean that's part of my issue is I can tell you with data analytics telemetry unequivocally what my actual defensive posture looks like and whether or not that's accurate for the risks and threats that I'm facing. But that doesn't come into the conversation. And I mean I'm saying that from personal experience. Like I have my own cyber insurance. I had to buy it. I've worked with companies trying. That doesn't come into the conversation, like you said. I mean, and we talked about it. It's a lot of Kentucky windage, and then somebody's issuing a policy.
Well, we call it this.
Exactly.
Do you know what TLR is?
No.
That's about right. That looks about right.
Okay, scary. All right. Well, I love to keep these things short. I know you've got other stuff to do. Thank you so much for your time. Gerry Kennedy, who knows more about insurance than any 5 people should have to know. Thanks for telling me what you can, and it's super valuable.
Well, I mean, if they want to reach out to us at Observatory, they can get onto observatorystrategicmanagement.com and get on there and get assessments. We're not the people that do it. I'm not an IT and OT professional. What we have done is we source the engineers, the physicists, the quantum. We looked at the people and we vetted them. So we're taking those things into the industry right now. We're vetting them to see if we actually take it together. If you know what the tech stack is, the OSI model, Jace.
Yep.
So if you want to think about us as a deck of cards when we were kids, you take 26 cards and 26 cards. We take the OSI stack and then we take the legal stack, we zip them together, and we got a new set of 52 cards. That's what we're doing out there, because the legal stack is the part where, wait a minute, isn't that where insurance is supposed to help me?
Right.
And by the way, it's way more than cyber. You got to remember, when these events happen, they're hitting contractual liabilities. How many of these board members are in court right now having class action events? all of them. And they're not meeting the business judgment doctrine. That means their personal assets at risk. We are warning them very hard that the boards of directors, if things go kinetic, all you got to think is Union Carbide, where 16,000 people died and 500,000 people are injured for 4 generations. You're going their personal freedom at risk, and the scale of this is almost inconceivable. Gazprom happened yesterday.
Yeah, big problems.
You got to remember what you can't. Cyber has no range issues. We don't have to worry about the curve of the Earth or gravity.
It's infinite.
Well, it is. No, it's not, because I mean, you can if you put up the barriers,
Sure.
the cyber bullet's can bounce off. It's just about what you do. And if you have what we call the ADT effect, is to go get the guy next door because you're better at the guy that the next door. They haven't. The hackers have an ROI model. Believe me, they do. They're not going to waste their time because they got too many easy targets out there. And unfortunately, it is the small business owners.
That's perfect. I want to leave it right there. Gerry, thank you. Enjoy the sunshine. Looks like you're outside. Have a good evening, man.
All right. Thank you.